Welcome to the deep dive. Our mission today, well, it's pretty personal, I think, for almost everyone. We're navigating the storm of that complex emotion we call anger.
Yes, we've got a great set of sources here. A real mix, actually. Some cutting-edge psychology, but also some deep cultural wisdom packed in there, too.
Right. And the listener who sent these in, they're looking for more than just, count to 10.
Definitely. The material challenges us to go deeper. It's not just about stopping the yelling. It's about understanding the whole system that creates those explosive reactions in the first place.
So we're challenging the cultural story around anger and
Rep-
trying to find a path towards control and peace instead.
That's the goal. We want to reroute that energy. So in this deep dive, we're going to unpack the science behind how emotions even form.
Okay.
We'll trace the anger cycle, the stages it goes through, and crucially, we'll get into some concrete, actionable techniques, things you can actually use.
To achieve what the sources call deep emotional regulation or emotional hadia, is that right?
Emotional hadia, yes. It translates roughly to calmness, gentleness, but it's a powerful state, not passive, a kind of inner composure, real strength.
Okay, so our mission is to take these maybe dense ideas and make them practical. Tools you can use right away.
Exactly. To gain genuine mastery over your internal world. So let's start by tackling maybe the biggest misconception out there.
Okay, so first up, this idea, which you hear a lot, that anger equals strength.
It's a foundational challenge in these sources. This belief system is just pervasive. You see it everywhere.
Where loudness or being really controlling or, aggressive behavior.
It's mistaken for having a strong personality
Yeah.
or being dominant. People just assume the loudest person in the room holds the power.
But the sources say that's completely wrong.
Not just wrong, but actually dangerous. Because that aggressive, loud behavior, it's often a signal of a profound lack of internal control, not strength.
Wow, okay. That's a big shift in thinking. So instead of seeing the shouting person as powerful,
We should see them as someone who's failing in that moment to express themselves effectively. The aggression itself is framed as a weakness,
a weakness, how so?
an inability to use their cognitive resources to communicate calmly, clearly. The source even uses this, well, provocative cultural reference point.
Oh.
It says something like, the loudest voice is the voice of a donkey.
Okay.
The point isn't really to insult anyone, obviously. It's to reframe that high volume, that tension. It's not authority, it's a deficiency. If you have to scream to get your point across or set a boundary.
Then your internal system for calm communication has kind of already broken down.
Exactly.
It's failed.
But hang on, I mean, sometimes anger feels necessary.
Yeah.
What about righteous anger?
Yeah.
Fighting injustice. If someone's reacting to, say, discrimination, is expressing that loudly still a failure? Or is it maybe needed to get attention?
That's a really, really important distinction to make. Absolutely crucial. When the sources talk about anger expression as a failure, they're focusing on the method. The method, meaning the uncontrolled volume, the projecting onto others, losing your cool.
Yes, that loss of inner peace. They're not questioning the motive, feeling indignant about injustice, wanting change that's valid, essential even.
Okay.
What the material guides us towards is realizing that the most effective people, activists, leaders, even parents, are usually the ones burning themselves out in constant explosive rage.
Right.
They're the ones who channel that passion, that fire. But into organized, controlled communication and action, the strength is in the internal control, being able to direct the energy rather than letting it direct you.
That makes a lot more sense. So strength is feeling things deeply, but without losing control over how you express it.
Precisely.
Okay. So let's look at how people often do lose control. The sources identify 4 main ways people tend to handle intense emotions, not just anger, that are, well, not very healthy.
Yeah, these 4 styles really show the common ways we avoid or misdirect things when we haven't learned real regulation. They become defaults.
Okay, style number 1 is suppression. Al-Kapt, the sources call it.
Where emotions, grief, pain, anger are just hidden, shoved down, never talked about.
And this is common.
Extremely common and often, socially conditioned, particularly for men who might be told showing vulnerability is weak.
What's the danger there if you just keep it in?
Well, it's systemic. Suppression doesn't make the emotion go away, it just turns it inward. Over time, that bottled up energy can come out sideways.
Like how?
Passive-aggressive behavior, maybe? Or chronic physical issues, gut problems, heart issues are often linked. Or even burnout at work because the person can't set boundaries or say what they need. They just comply until they break.
Like a pressure cooker on low, just simmering away. Okay. The second style sounds like the total opposite. Disorganized venting. Al-Tafari, Har al-Munazam.
It is the opposite in a way,
Yeah.
but just as unhealthy. This is where someone talks and vents constantly, but it's chaotic, unstructured.
Right, just complaining to friends all the time.
Exactly. Sharing the problem over and over, often with people who can't really help, maybe friends who are too sympathetic or just not equipped to give good advice.
So you feel better for a minute because someone listened.
But nothing actually changes.
Yeah.
The advice might even be bad, or just reinforce the feeling instead of challenging the thinking behind it. It's just this exhausting cycle of spending emotional energy without getting anywhere productive.
Right, emotional spinning your wheels. Okay, number 3, projection. Alice squat.
Ah, yes, the classic displacement, taking it out on someone else.
So you're angry about work, stressed about money, stuck in traffic.
You slam the car door. Or yell at your kid for dropping something minor. Or snap at your partner about something totally unrelated to the real source of your stress.
Why do we do that?
Projection is a really clear sign of what the sources call Adam Y, basically, a lack of self-awareness about your own emotional state at that moment. You're unconsciously dumping your internal chaos onto something or someone external, usually someone who can't easily fight back.
Like kicking the cat.
Pretty much. It gives a false sense of relief for a second, but it damages relationships and solves nothing internally.
Okay. And the fourth style brings us back to where we started. Loud anger or aggression. Al-Ghadab.
Yes. And what's really insightful here is how this often gets rationalized. People disguise it as caring deeply or being protective.
Like the example in the source, yelling at a child to wear a coat.
Exactly. Saying, I'm only doing this because I love you. I'm worried you'll get cold. The source challenges that justification hard.
Oh.
It argues that while the intention wanting the child to be warm might be okay, the method, the yelling, often masks the parent's own exhaustion or instability, or just a learned reliance on volume as the only way to get compliance.
So it's like the easiest but most damaging tool in the toolbox.
It's the cheapest, yeah, and most damaging. So when you look at all four, suppression, venting, projection, aggression, they're all essentially failures.
Right. They wreck your inner peace and they mess up your relationships.
Absolutely. Which means the path to Hadiya, that calm strength, doesn't start with a breathing exercise. It starts with changing this core belief system.
We have to really internalize that loud, aggressive reactions aren't power.
They're a failure to manage yourself and communicate effectively. The real strength is in the composure.
Okay, so if we want to control anger, we need to understand where it actually comes from. The sources dig into some foundational psychology here, showing emotion isn't just a simple reflex.
Exactly. Understanding these theories gives us the why behind the practical tools we'll get to later. First up is the James Lange theory. It kind of flips the script on how we usually think about it.
How so?
It suggests the physical body reacts first, your jaw clenches, heart rate goes up, breathing gets shallower.
And then the mind interprets those physical signals as an emotion, like, oh, my heart's pounding, I must be angry.
Correct. The body sets the stage, and the mind labels the feeling based on that physical input. And what's really fascinating is how this old psychological theory lines up perfectly with very practical advice from the Sunnah, the prophetic traditions.
You mean the advice about changing your physical position when you get angry?
Precisely. If you're standing, sit down. If you're sitting, lie down.
Why does that work so well? What's the actual mechanism?
It's about the connection between your body and your brain's threat detector, the amygdala. When your body is tense, upright, ready for action, the amygdala gets the signal. Danger, fight or flight.
Okay.
By deliberately changing your posture, going from vertical, alert, standing, to horizontal, resting, lying down, you're sending a powerful physical message back to your brain.
A message saying,
This immediate threat is over. Stand down. You're actively interrupting that biological arousal pathway. Physical stillness signals safety.
and that allows the rational part of the brain to kick back in.
Exactly. The prefrontal cortex gets a chance to regain control before the emotion completely takes over and you explode. It's basically a neurological intervention you can do yourself.
Wow, that's much deeper than just calm down. Okay, what's next? The Cannon-Bard theory.
Right. Cannon-Bard suggests the physical changes, the arousal, and the emotional experience happen pretty much simultaneously. It highlights how immediate that connection is.
But the sources seem to favor another one more.
Yes, the one that's really critical for managing anger specifically is the cognitive appraisal theory. This one puts the emphasis squarely on interpretation, on takim.
Interpretation. So the event itself doesn't make you angry?
Not directly. The event someone cutting you off, say, is just raw data. The emotion, the anger, is manufactured in the moment you appraise it, the meaning you give it.
And that appraisal depends on my history, my beliefs.
All of it. Your past experiences, traumas, beliefs about yourself and the world. Imagine two people get the same rude service from a waiter.
Okay.
Person A appraises it as, wow, this waiter must be having a really bad day. I feel kind of sorry for them. Person B appraises it as, how dare they treat me like this? This is disrespectful. They think I'm nobody.
Same event, totally different feelings.
Exactly. Person A feels empathy, maybe slight annoyance. Person B feels rage. The stimulus was identical. The Takim, the appraisal, was the fuel for the fire.
That moment of appraisal, Takim, sounds like...
It's the pivot point, the moment of choice. And this idea leads us straight into something even more profound. The constructivist theory of emotion.
Constructivist, meaning emotions are built, not automatic.
Yes, this might be the single most empowering idea in all the source material. Think about it. If we believe emotions just happen to us, that I can't help how I feel.
Then we're kind of victims of our own feelings.
Exactly. But the constructivist theory says, no, emotional responses are actually highly complex constructions. They're non-spontaneous. They get built up in the brain layer by layer through learned behaviors, cognitive processes, repeated neural pathways.
So when someone says, I'm just an angry person...
That's not a fixed diagnosis.
Yeah.
It's a description of a deeply learned, ingrained, and built habit of responding.
Wow. Okay, so if they're built...
They can be unbuilt. Or rebuilt. This puts the responsibility squarely back on the individual. It's a game changer.
So we shift from blaming the other person, he made me angry, to owning our part. I constructed an angry response to his behavior.
Precisely. Overcoming chronic anger, then, isn't just about willpower. It's like overcoming a phobia. It takes intentional work. Exposure, gradual reappraisal, consciously choosing and building new responses. It's an active process.
Okay, accepting that responsibility is huge. But what's the cost if we don't change?
Yeah.
If we keep choosing to maintain that toxic emotional structure?
This is where the sources get really stark. The physical price of continuous, uncontrolled anger is devastating.
Devastating how?
The material warns that sustained, explosive rage, especially the shouting and screaming, can cause actual physical damage. It specifically mentions clinical observations of Sissy-Kinsu.
Wait, damage to brain cells just from being angry all the time?
Yes. It sounds extreme, but think about it physiologically. When you're in that state, your system is flooded with stress hormones, like cortisol and adrenaline.
The fight or flight chemicals.
Right. And in chronic doses, they're toxic. They cause inflammation, constrict blood vessels. Over time, this damages the delicate structures of the nervous system, including the brain. Anger literally makes you sick.
So the first victim of your anger is you.
Always. And this physical toll helps explain the link the sources make to other issues, like addiction. They note that many people struggling with addiction often have deep problems with anger control and expressing feelings healthily. Unmanaged anger is a drain, a physical burden that compromises everything.
Okay, so if we want to break this cycle, we need to see the steps clearly. The sources lay out a 4-stage process that leads to the angry outburst. Knowing this helps us see where we can jump in.
Exactly. It's about finding the intervention points. And it starts pretty simply. Stage 1 is just the stimulus, el-mufis.
The trigger event, someone cuts you off, your kid spills milk, you get bad news.
It's just the external thing that happens. Then comes stage 2, the pre-anger state.
This is where you first feel it, that little flicker.
Yeah, your patience gets tested. You recognize the stimulus is annoying, maybe unfair, this person is bothering me, or this isn't right. You feel agitated, but you haven't fully committed to the anger yet. Your body is maybe tensing, but it's not full-blown fight or flight.
Okay. Then stage 3. This seems like the big one. Appraisal. Al-Takim.
This is it. The moment of truth. The cognitive interpretation that changes everything. This is where it goes wrong for most people.
How does it go wrong? What's a bad appraisal?
A bad appraisal is when you make it personal. You interpret the stimulus, the spilled milk, the comment, as intentional, malicious, or as proof of some negative belief you hold.
Like, they did that on purpose to annoy me, or this always happens to me, nobody respects me.
Exactly. You see it as a direct slight, a confirmation of your fears or insecurities. And that personalization is what pours gasoline on the fire. It ramps the emotion up from simple annoyance to full-blown rage.
So the skill here is learning to make a good appraisal instead.
That's the core of emotional intelligence in this model. A good appraisal means consciously introducing alternative explanations. less self-centered ones.
Like maybe they're just having a really bad day, or they probably didn't even see me, or it was just an accident.
Yes. Finding a neutral or even benevolent explanation takes cognitive effort, especially when you're already agitated. But if you can do it, if you can diffuse the personalization,
The anger loses its fuel.
precisely. And then stage 4 is the selection of behavior, al-ghadab. This is the outcome.
The yelling, the slamming doors, the silent treatment.
Whatever reaction you choose, it flows directly from the appraisal you made back in stage 3. The whole downstream effect hinges on that single cognitive moment.
Control the takim, control the reaction.
That's the intervention point with the most leverage.
Okay, so why do our appraisals go bad so often? What are the common triggers that push us towards those negative interpretations? The sources list several. First one, shattered expectations.
Oh, this is huge. A massive source of internal friction that often boils over into external anger. We all carry these ideals, right? Often unspoken.
Ideals about what?
How our spouse should act, how our kids should perform at school, how our career should be progressing when reality doesn't match up to that picture in our head.
We feel let down, betrayed almost.
Yes. We experience it as a failure, not necessarily our failure, but the world's failure, or the other person's failure to conform to our blueprint. So a parent might rage at a child's bad grade.
Not just because of the grade itself, but because it shatters their expectation of having the perfect student.
Exactly. The anger is really about the frustration of their own expectation being violated, the loss of control over that ideal.
Okay, that makes sense. Next trigger, the modern classic, accumulation of stress and pressure.
Yeah, this is about the empty emotional fuel tank. If you're constantly under pressure, work, family, finances, and you don't have enough time or ways to decompress and recharge,
Your capacity to handle anything extra just disappears.
your reserves for patience, for making that good appraisal, are completely depleted. There's no cognitive space left. So the smallest thing, a minor inconvenience, a slight delay, becomes the final straw.
And the pressure has to go somewhere, so it explodes outwards.
Usually onto the nearest, safest target.
Yeah.
It's a disproportionate reaction because the reserves needed for Hadia, for calm regulation, just aren't there. You have to maintain those resources.
Which ties right into the next one, physical exhaustion and biological factors.
This is just basic biology, non-negotiable. Your nervous system needs stability to function well.
So being sleep deprived or hungry or just physically run down,
Directly impairs your brain's ability to regulate emotions, that rational prefrontal cortex. It needs energy. It needs rest. The whole hangry thing is absolutely real.
right?
If your body is running on empty, your brain literally doesn't have the resources to override the more primitive, impulsive emotional responses. You can't expect to manage anger well if you're treating your body poorly.
Okay. 2 more triggers here, very potent emotionally. Perceived humiliation or dismissal, alihana or altakio.
Ah, yes. Feeling minimized, disregarded, insulted. This is probably one of the fastest roads to explosive anger.
Especially in public, or when you feel your status is challenged.
Exactly. It feels like a direct attack on your self-worth. It often bypasses that appraisal stage entirely and goes straight to a defensive, angry reaction.
And the flip side, internal conflict or guilt.
Right. Sometimes anger isn't really about the external situation at all. Undefined struggles inside, maybe guilt over something or deep sadness you haven't dealt with, or cognitive dissonance.
That internal mess can bubble up as external anger.
It often does. Because it's psychologically easier, in a way, to pick a fight with someone outside than to confront the discomfort or shame inside. The anger gets projected outwards.
And the last one, which explains those really outsized reactions.
History of trauma or old wounds.
The button. This is so important for understanding why someone might have a level 10 reaction to a level 2 offense. The current trigger, the small thing happening now, is accidentally pushing an old sensitive button from the past.
Precisely. A past trauma related to abandonment, maybe, or abuse, or betrayal. The person isn't just reacting to their colleague being 5 minutes late. They're re-experiencing the profound powerlessness or fear they felt years ago.
So the reaction feels totally out of proportion to the current event.
Because it is out of proportion to the current event. It's fueled by the past.
Yeah.
And to really disarm those kinds of hair-trigger reactions, the source suggests you have to actually go back and process that original wound. Until then, minor things will keep feeling like major threats.
Okay, let's get practical. We understand the cycle, the triggers. Now, how do we actually manage it? The sources offer some powerful tools, starting with a shift in how we see our own well-being.
Yes, there's a golden rule here, a foundational principle. Your nervous system is the most precious thing you own. Pamper it.
Pamper it like it's a luxury.
Not luxury, necessity. It's saying this is your core asset. It's your individual responsibility to protect your internal state from constant upheaval, from being constantly invaded by external stress and negativity. You can't outsource this job.
Okay. And the first step in pampering it is physical control, circling back to that James Lange idea.
Exactly. The body leads. If the body is still, the emotions have to follow. The advice is simple but profound. Deliberately control fast, jerky, impulsive movements when you feel anger rising.
Why? What does slowing the body do?
Think of the analogy they use. Driving too fast, you miss the scenery. High emotional speed, you miss the chance for clear thought. By forcing your body to slow down, unclenching your fists, relaxing your shoulders, moving deliberately, you force your mind to slow down too. You create space for reason.
Okay, so in the heat of the moment, when the tension is high, what are the immediate tactics in the fight tools?
Right. First, the classic 10-second rule, or maybe it's 30 seconds, or even stepping away for 5 minutes.
Just create a pause.
A deliberate interruption. Create space between that appraisal, stage 3, and the reaction, stage 4. That pause is crucial. It's the window where your rational brain, the prefrontal cortex, can jump in and say, hang on a second, before the automatic aggressive reaction takes over.
Okay, pause. What else? Withdrawal or disengagement? Just leaving the situation.
Yes, physically removing yourself from the immediate vicinity of the conflict is often the smartest tactical move. But, and this is a big but, the sources emphasize.
What's the catch?
You have to do it strategically, not contemptuously. You can't just turn your back and storm out while your partner, say, is trying to talk to you, even if they're yelling.
Why not? What happens then?
They'll likely interpret that as you dismissing them, abandoning them, saying their feelings don't matter, which, ironically, will probably just escalate their anger and distress.
Okay, so how do you withdraw in a healthy way, strategically?
It needs communication beforehand, especially with people you live with. You need to agree, when things are calm, on what withdrawal means.
Like setting a code word or phrase.
Sort of. More like stating the intention clearly, saying something like, look, I'm getting too upset to think straight right now. I need to step away for 5 minutes to calm down so we can actually talk about this properly. I'm not leaving you, I'm managing me.
So you frame it as taking responsibility for your own state, not as punishment or rejection of the other person.
Exactly. It becomes an agreed-upon boundary for de-escalation, not an act of war. That preserves the relationship while protecting your nervous system.
That reframes it completely. Okay. Third tactic for the heat of the moment. This one sounds really counterintuitive. The whisper technique when someone is yelling at you.
It is counterintuitive. The absolute worst thing you can do when someone's yelling is to tell them, calm down, or lower your voice.
Right. That never works.
Never. Instead, the advice is you radically lower your own voice. Speak calmly, quietly, maybe even close to a whisper.
Why on earth would that work?
Because the yelling person's brain is currently hijacked by the sound of the fight, the volume, the aggression. By speaking very quietly, you force a neurological shift in their brain.
A shift how?
They literally have to strain to hear you. Their brain has to switch from pure emotional output mode to auditory processing and comprehension mode. They have to focus to understand your words.
So it interrupts their shouting because they need to actually listen.
Precisely. It forces a cognitive gear change. It's almost impossible for them to keep screaming at the top of their lungs while simultaneously trying to decipher your quiet, calm voice. It hijacks their attention away from the rage itself.
That's brilliant. A kind of psychological judo.
It shifts the dynamic instantly, from a shouting match back towards something resembling a conversation. Okay, so those are immediate tactics. Now, the long-term solution, mastering structured communication, this is the real alternative to yelling.
Right. Instead of just exploding, we need a process. The sources give 3 steps. Step 1, acknowledge and name the feeling.
Yes. This is internal work first. You have to actually sit with the feeling, notice it, treat it, as the source says, like a child that needs acknowledgement, and name it specifically.
Not just I'm angry, but maybe I feel really frustrated, or I feel hurt, or I feel dismissed.
Exactly. Getting precise helps you understand it. Naming it gives you a little distance, a bit of control. Self-recognition is the first step.
Okay. Step 2, identify the source idea. What thought caused that feeling?
Now you connect the feeling back to the takim, the appraisal. What interpretation led to this emotion? You articulate it, even just to yourself initially. I feel angry.
And the thought that caused it was my belief that you were deliberately ignoring me.
Perfect. You link the feeling to the thought or the interpretation. Not just blaming the external event or person directly. This detaches the emotion slightly, makes it about your internal process.
And then step 3, offer a solution or clarification.
Yes, but crucially, this step only happens after you've calmed down. You don't try to solve things mid-explosion. Once you're calm, you communicate rationally.
Oh,
You explain the link you found in step 2. When an event happened, I interpreted it as your appraisal, and that made me feel your feeling. Then you offer a constructive path forward.
like, so next time, could we maybe try specific different action? That would help me avoid feeling that way.
Exactly. Clarify expectations, set clear, respectful boundaries. It's an organized, intentional process instead of a reactive mess.
This kind of structured communication seems to rely a lot on being emotionally honest, though. Which brings us to another point the sources make. The importance of the art of saying no.
Oh, absolutely critical. The sources point to people who struggle immensely with anger regulation are often the chronic people pleasers.
The ones who always say, yes, sure, I can do that on my head, even when they're drowning.
Exactly. That compliant manager type. They agree to everything, stretch themselves too thin, and then all this resentment and frustration builds up inside because they can't assert their own limits.
And that frustration has to come out somewhere, probably sideways, as anger or passive aggression.
Precisely. So learning to say no politely but firmly, or I can try but I can't promise, or that doesn't work for me right now, isn't selfish. It's essential self-preservation. It protects your nervous system, protects your resources, and prevents that buildup of resentment. Emotional honesty is key to internal health.
Okay, one last crucial perspective. What about the person on the receiving end of someone else's anger? The listener might be thinking, okay, but what if I'm the one being yelled at? I feel wronged. Do I fight back or do I walk away and feel weak?
Ah, the classic dilemma. Pride versus peace. The advice from the sources is really unequivocal on this.
Which is,
Walking away, choosing to disengage from the heat, is not weakness. It's presented as the higher path. It's wisdom. It's self-management at its best.
so the calm person is actually the stronger one in that interaction.
The sane one, as the source puts it. You have to recognize that getting drawn into retaliation, even if you feel completely justified, only ends up compromising your own nervous system, the one you're supposed to be pampering, remember.
Right. Prioritize your internal peace over winning that specific battle.
Over winning a draining, usually regrettable confrontation.
But what if the other person's action is genuinely harmful? Not just yelling, but slander or threats or crossing serious financial boundaries. You can't just walk away from that, can you?
No, and the sources don't suggest you should ignore serious transgressions. But the method of addressing it is key.
So not a screaming match. What then?
Use external systems and clear boundaries.
Yeah.
Legal avenues if necessary. Written agreements. Clearly defined consequences that are enforced calmly, not emotionally.
So take action to protect your rights or safety, but do it in a way that doesn't drag you down into their angry energy.
Exactly. Enforce the boundary. Reclaim your right, but do it without sacrificing your own hadia, your own internal calm, by getting sucked into their low-level fight. Hashtag Tolic outro.
Wow. Okay. This has been, well, a really deep dive. We've shifted the view of anger from this uncontrollable force to something that's actually a system, an internal process we can understand and manage.
Yeah, the key takeaways are pretty profound. Strength is really in composure, not volume. That moment of appraisal, the takim, is absolutely critical.
And that fundamental duty we have to protect our own nervous system, it's not optional.
Not at all. So to really bring this home, let's crystallize it into 3 core actions, things you can take away and start practicing right now, drawn straight from the sources.
Okay. Actionable takeaway number 1.
Prioritize your core asset. Remember the golden rule. Your nervous system is the most precious thing you own. Pamper it. Actively shield your internal peace. Make it your #1 self-care job.
Got it. Number 2.
Pace yourself. Control the heat. Remember the analogy. Handle reactions on a slow, low-flame naradia. High fire just burns the pot, and you are the pot. Use those tools. The pause, the posture change, the whisper, to slow things down. That's maturity, not weakness.
Okay. Prioritize, pace yourself. Number 3.
Organize your emotional output. Stop the reactive explosions. Replace them with that structured communication sequence we talked about. Notice the motive, right arrow. Name the feeling, right arrow. Check the thought appraisal, right arrow. Deliver, organized, calm communication. Explain, don't explode.
Prioritize, pace, organize. Okay. And finally, you mentioned a provocative thought to leave us with.
Yes, something to chew on. We can only ever truly change ourselves, right?
Hmm.
So this idea that we must pour all our precious emotional energy, our time, our peace, into trying to force change in another person, someone who might not even want to change, even if it's family.
Is maybe illogical
Yeah.
and definitely draining.
It's detrimental to our own health. So
Yeah.
the question to ask yourself is, what internal resource, your peace, your energy, your time, are you willing to sacrifice today for a guaranteed improvement in yourself or for a change in someone else that you